hit it.
Oh, we got it. Yeah, it just took a while.
All right. We are back again, as promised. A bit late, but we're here. Episode number 7.
All right. Oh, okay.
All right. Yep. I just said we're back for episode 7 of the podcast once again.
Okay. So
Got a very interesting week so far.
It was a very busy day today.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Dad's got to figure out his settings again.
Yeah, I've got to keep this one in because both of our teams play. Mine's playing right now. Yours is playing in now as well.
That's Jari starting tonight.
Okay. Stu is starting tonight.
Oh boy. Here we go.
All right. All right. So welcome to the Best Boys Center Ice podcast. It's episode 7. And before we get going, of course, this is father-son team, Barry, Besse, my handsome son, Carson, who is the brains of the outfit. Probably without, in my opinion, the best analyst of hockey that is going out there in professional or everything. I'd like to give a shout out to Shemai Reed and the Refocused Radio Network that we are on, along with Rudy Campos and Sweep the League. Rudy's got a great show.
It's all sports.
It's all sports all the time, except for hockey, but we're getting him better about it. So we take that lead. So you can check the Refocused Radio network out. I am refocusedradio.com. Our podcast tonight, of course, is live on Facebook, but it will also be available on the Refocused Radio Network through our YouTube channel, the Best Boys Center Ice Podcast, and on Spreaker tomorrow, the Best Boys Center Ice Podcast. And, of course, you can catch us post-game tonight for both of us on TikTok. But, Carson, tonight we had an interesting day, and we'll get to the NHL
very
stuff.
Busy.
A very busy day in the NHL, but as we always do, we start.
I think we should start with you this time, though, because I feel like after last week, well, it wasn't very good for us. I think there's a lot more buzz around you guys and not being 100%.
Yes. So we're going to start the week that was for the Edmonton Oilers. When you look at it from the week since we were last on the air, the Oilers went 2-1-1, so they got points in 4 or 5 games. They last Tuesday, the Islanders, they won in overtime. The big game Thursday, of course, was against Nashville with a 3-2 win by the Oilers in overtime. Connor McDavid scored his 1,000th career point in that game on a 3-point effort, including assist on. And it's so funny because his 1,000th point, you would think, was a goal. It wasn't an assist. It was a beautiful
goal
set up by Leon Draisaitl. And then past Saturday, a loss in Toronto in overtime. That was a tough one, 4-3. And then last night was really a stinker. It was a stinker for the Oilers, big time. And I'll talk about that. 3-0 in all the games besides Montreal. The Oilers had a lead in the third period and gave it up. They got lucky with the 2 overtime wins and got a point in Toronto. But that is a concern.
Yes.
It's a big concern, especially the way that they gave them up, because they gave them up on defensive mistakes. And I am calling out Evan Bouchard tonight. And he's been shaky, to say the least, the first 15, 16 games of the regular season. And Carson sent me a text a couple of days ago saying, what?
They should bench him, get him off for a game or two, let him reset himself, because he is not right. And he keeps, you know what? Losses don't fall on one person. Obviously, it's a winning effort, by the team, winning or losing. But his mistakes have really cost him the games. If you look at the biggest one that honestly stands out to me the most out of them all, you can look at the tying goal in Toronto off McDavid's butt, pretty much, and right to Nyes, I think, who scored out. The one that really got me was that 3-2 goal, the McMahon goal.
Yep.
He stopped, like completely stopped.
He stopped
Like
skating.
he was closer. McMahon's here. Bush is like, you can't see, but okay, you can't really see, I guess. Bush here. Puck is right in front of him. McMahon's way over here. You think Bouchard only has to go up this much. He's going to win the race. He doesn't win the race.
No.
He completely stops, and McMahon beats him and scores. And then when the puck goes in, you see Bush like curl around like super fast around the corner. Like that speed.
He just slowed down. He was waiting.
Yeah.
He was thinking Matthias Ekholm, who's not as fast, was going to catch up to him, and he couldn't. He didn't have the angle. It was. And then there was the game that he just gave the puck away in his own zone.
Was that the Montreal game?
Yeah, and it was.
And that was a late one too. That was like 20, 30 seconds left in the period.
Yeah, and and Bouchard last year had a phenomenal year. We were both expecting him to have the same. And this at the end, this is his contract year. He's looking for an extension. The way he's playing right now,
he's not going to get big money.
He's not going to get big money. And I don't know if the Oilers would keep him. If they would keep him, they'd keep him for a lot less.
I definitely think you keep him, but he's got to work stuff out. He's definitely capable. One person I think I want to personally call out a little bit, and I mean it's nothing too drastic, but definitely Stu. Like these goals he's letting in is like the one last night, the 2-0 goal against Montreal. There's no angle.
No.
He's way off the dot, and it just that wasn't Stu. That was Pick.
It was
still
Pickard. Yeah.
But even like the leads, third period.
Yep.
Hold it, and he
can't.
But
hold.
I mean, even reading through stuff, they talk about like goaltending situation for the Four Nations tournament. God, everybody's just blasting on Stu. Like he doesn't need to be in the league. He needs to be in the AHL. He's horrible. He's not good.
No, he's not. He's just going through something, and I don't know what it is. And maybe I still am a firm believer in. I'm more confident when Calvin Pickard's in the back, in the net. He's had his struggles too, but every goaltender has. I'm more confident with Calvin Pickard.
You wonder though how long the Oilers are wanting to put up with Stu's shenanigans.
Yeah, I think you do you look for a goaltender? Like, do you go find a goaltender and maybe do it and say, look, Stu, but then do you put him down in Bakersfield and keep Pick, or what do you do? Or do you carry?
You probably carry. I mean,
you carry three.
You carry three, or you get picked to somebody that needs a backup.
Yeah,
and keep Stu as a backup because the way he plays most of the time, other than the run to the final last year, he doesn't look more than a backup. He really doesn't.
His confidence level is again back to where it was at the beginning of last season. So,
but
and the one thing that came out of the Toronto game, of course, was the hit.
Oh yeah,
Ryan Reeves on Darnell Nurse, and I looked at that thing live, and I looked at that thing over and over and over again the last few days, and I've mentioned it on my post games, and I've mentioned it on Facebook that Ryan Reeves is nothing more than a goon, and he's a player that just not really care about other players' safety, and that was a targeted hit to the head because he sped up. And it's not like he was trying to go shoulder to chest on Darnell. He went shoulder right to the head. And you're talking about one of the, we have our issues with Nurse, but he's one of the toughest players in the NHL. And his neck went around like it was almost going to go off of his head. 5 games to me is, I guess, what the league felt was 5-game suspension. But Nurses might be out up to 10 days. And who knows how effective he's going to be when he comes. And he was playing some of the better hockey of the backliners for the Oilers. I think Ryan Reeves is just a waste of space, a waste of an NHL contract. I don't care where he plays. There's one thing of being a tough guy. You go back to the tough guys of the NHL like Dave Schultz and Dave Semenko and Bob Probert. All these guys were tough because they were going fisticuffs, but they never, ever went for the dirty hit.
And the weird, well, not the weird thing, but when he plays the right way, he's actually effective. He's a big presence in front of the net, and he's physical. He's going to lay a hit. He's an effective player if he plays the right way, but not doing stuff like that.
Because there was no need for that hit.
He could have bumped him off.
Yep.
Because he still had the puck.
Yep.
He could have given him a solid check, and it would have been legal. But if he would have just hit him like shoulder to like chest or whatever, legal hit because Nurse had the puck, but not.
Last year in the playoffs for the Rangers, Truba.
Oh yeah, that was
when
bad.
he made it, that was
when
he
tried elbowing him in the face.
Guys like that and plays like that do not belong. And they say take fighting out of the NHL. If you take fighting out of the NHL, you're going to see more garbage, crap like what happened Saturday night. Just a couple more things. The power play and the penalty kill is the bugaboo right now for the Oilers. They went 0 for last night. They're starting to get some goals on the power play. Their PK is actually playing a little bit better as of late. But that's a concern because that's what rode them.
That was a bread and butter for this team.
To Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I mean they had
finals.
a near 90% penalty kill.
Yeah. And then they number one, number two. So, and I still think that there needs to be a shuffle on that first power play line.
I'm really worried about, I'm not worried that they're going to make it in the playoffs, but I'm worried about that there may be too many big guys on the team. I think at this point of the year right now, I think you miss having guys like Holloway and McLeod on the team because they're not big name guys. They're not going to go out and score a lot of goals, but they're going to be effective. And I think sometimes front loading the team might not be a very good idea. Obviously, it's giving them the best chance they can to win, but I don't know. I think at this point in the year, you miss guys like that can be effective and not be on the score sheet. Some of these guys, I feel like, or if they're not on the score sheet, you hardly notice that they're there.
Yeah.
And that's excluding basically McDavid, Draisaitl. Out of all of them, really, Arvidsson's looked really good when he's been playing, but it's like when I've watched the games, for me, I haven't noticed Jeff Skinner too much unless he scores.
Jeff Skinner played well in the first 5 games of the season, and then he's kind of been – and I've heard that there's rumors that they may be wanting
I feel like they might flip people. I mean, it's a long season, and I mean, y'all are in a better – but
they did claim Kapanen off of waivers from St. Louis. So that's a player where he's maybe not very well known.
He's a bottom 6 guy.
He's a bottom 6 guy. 85 goals, 124 assists, 209 points in 470
when he played, because he played in Pittsburgh for 3 years, or you either got one of two. You got the Cappy that could blow you away with speed and just be so effective on the line, or you'd get the Cappy that would be too fast for his own good. I think he'd be a good bottom guy, maybe a third or like a fourth liner for his speed, but we'll see where he fits.
I want to shout out to Charity is watching us tonight. Charity used to co-worker of mine over at WAI Radio. Mitch Otto is watching. Orlando Garza, Miles Jacoby. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Before we get to Pittsburgh,
Bouchard scored.
Oh, Evan Bouchard. Okay, so the Oilers are up 1-0. They're playing in Ottawa right now.
0-0 for the Pens and the Lightning.
Yes. Edmonton and Ottawa as we speak, then at home to Minnesota. That's going to be a good game.
Yes.
I'm very interested in seeing Minnesota. I haven't seen Minnesota play very much.
They've been
but they're right up there in the Central, and I think they're like 11 wins, I think. So I'd be interested to see if it's going to be Fleury or if it's going to be Gustafsson.
Oh, probably Gus, I think, but
I would love to see Fleury play because that's going to be one of his last time in Edmonton. And then that's against Minnesota at home Thursday. Then they go play the Rangers at home on Saturday, and then they don't play until the 29th, Friday, in their first trip to Utah to take on the Utah Hockey Club. So that's what the Oilers, as Carson just mentioned, the Oilers are up 1-0 in Ottawa early in that game, and now to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I'm just going to say at the start, the Penguins still need to do something, whether it's coaching, whether it's a trade, something or another, because they don't want to waste this window they have with the 3 big guys.
No, and they did not have a very good week at all. They were 1-1 in a week that they should have probably been at least 2-0-1. They played 3 games. They played Wednesday against Detroit at home. Then they traveled to Columbus and played them on Friday night. And then they wrap up the back-to-back on Saturday at home against San Jose. The Detroit game was not a very good game. I mean, they started so slow, and, you thought after the thumping they got from Dallas, and then with Eller getting traded, you think that you're going to see this just an explosion of this team, and you didn't. They were so flat until the second. Detroit scored the first 2 goals in the second period, and then we tied the game, so I'm glad we got the point in that game. We lose in overtime. Nice goal by Edvinsson from Detroit, but Ned really bit so bad on a drag he did in the zone and beat him clean. But that's a game you need to have urgency at starting off this game, and they didn't. They had none. There was no passion, no energy, nothing. Then they go to Columbus on Friday, and I mean, out of the 2 games, you had to start Jory in that one because you don't want to start him at home, and then he stinks it up and he gets booed. And he stunk it up in Columbus. He played god awful. Shouldn't start a game anymore, but he's actually starting tonight. But he shouldn't start a game.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't ready. For the 3rd time out of the 4 games he had started up to that point this year, he let in a goal in the first shot he faced of the game. The 3rd out of the 4 games he's played. And then he's swimming around in the crease. He has no idea what's going on. The 5th goal that Columbus had was actually hilarious because the puck's behind him. The puck's going by the dot. And he's just like this, like turning himself. And he's not ready. He's not ready. He's not NHL caliber. He's not playing that way right now. And
so what do you do?
I don't know, because who's going to take that contract? And I mean, they are so high on him because they paid him the money. I don't care you paid him the money. He's not playing an NHL caliber game. He's not. I don't know what you do. It's good that they put Blomqvist back to the Wilkes-Barre, let him develop and play a lot of games there because he should be playing. He's a great goalie, but I don't know how many times you let Jari really get away with this stuff before you do something. Like I said last time, upper management isn't doing anything to help this team out. They're letting them just flop around and see what kind of happens. And if they put together a good season, they do. And if they don't, they don't. It doesn't matter. That's what it's kind of been shaping up to be. But yeah, they lose 6-2 in Columbus, an awful game. And then they go home to play San Jose on Saturday and thank God win. But they blow a 3-0 lead. So out of the 20 games up to this point they've played, I think 8 games they've had a multi-goal lead vanish in the game. That's a big problem. That's a lot of points you throw away.
Yep.
Even if you lose 2 or so of those games, you win 6 of them or make it to extra time. That's probably an extra 10 or so points in your pocket that you don't have,
right?
Because you can't hold the lead when you should be able to.
Well, the Oilers are in the same way. They can't hold the lead.
No, and they lose. They go up and then they lose their identity. Like, even if it's bound to happen that the other team's going to get some momentum and play a bit better, but hold the fort. Hold the fort. Let them where they can't really get any second chance opportunities. If you're clearing the puck for 5 or so minutes, clear the puck for 5 or so minutes, but they're just letting them do what they want. And that's been a big problem. They can't hold the lead, but luckily they get it done in the shootout, thank God.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, they're 7-10-3. They have yet to have won more than 2 games in a row. I mean, they win a few. And the crazy thing is, I mean, I know it's early in the year to think about the playoffs because there's still 60 some odd games. But you look at the race in the wild card, we're right. Like the games in hand, the other teams maybe have a game or 2 or 3 in hand on us. But it's all bunched. You're all close, and the more they're playing around with this stuff, they're falling behind. But at least they won the last game. But I'd like them to win a few. I mean, they don't have an easy schedule coming up. I think out of the next 10 games they play are against playoff caliber teams, teams that have been, I believe, not in the playoff race, or at least a playoff team last year. They're, I want to say 6-1-2. And against playoff teams, they're like 1-9-0. So they're losing a lot of games to teams that are playoff potential teams. And they've led in a lot of these games. That's been something that has been kind of looked over. They led against Vancouver. They led against Winnipeg. They led against Minnesota and lost that game. Who else have they blown a lead to? I'm trying to think. But, I mean, lots of games they've just thrown away. But nonetheless, lots of time. You never know what's going to happen. I hope they can just put some wins together. That's all I think it's going to take is them to win some games. Dad's scoreboard watching. Oh, Pittsburgh won.
Yep, Pittsburgh won. Woo! Tampa nothing. Let's see here. It was Jesse Puljujärvi.
Yes,
unassisted.
Nice.
So 1-0. Pittsburgh over Tampa.
But yeah, big week for the Penguins. Now they play, as we're watching right now, Tampa Bay in Pittsburgh. And then they have a tough back-to-back this weekend. Friday and Saturday, they play Friday against Winnipeg. But the only thing I've been thinking about Winnipeg, they've lost a couple games lately. So,
and they lost badly their last game against Florida.
Yeah, so maybe the Penguins can take advantage. And you imagine Winnipeg.
So remember, Hellebuck is actually, maybe, human.
Yeah, and then they play Saturday also against Utah at home. So big week. They need to collect. If they can collect 4 or 5 points, this would be huge for them to gain some confidence. But it all starts tonight. They got to lock in these next 50 minutes of this game and win it.
Yeah.
Other than that, nothing's really changed. They brought up a couple guys from Wilkes-Barre and kept them on the team. They took Ryan Graves out actually, and they're still keeping him out. So I like that they're trying at least with these younger guys to get him incorporated.
I've heard stories of Erik Karlsson may be on the move.
Yeah,
I've heard. I actually heard one of the earlier rumors was Erik Karlsson to Edmonton. What do you think about them? Kind of if they're going to trade people, is that one of the guys that are trade bait?
No, because his cap hit's really high, but I don't want him to leave. I don't think what people don't understand is when he's able to play his offensive game, he's a very unique player. I don't think other than Makar, I don't think there's another offensive defenseman like him. When he's in his zone, he's shifting around like it's nothing. He's able to skate the blue line.
Well, he's still a fantastic offensive defenseman.
Yeah. And he's not afraid, even though it bites him in the butt, he's not afraid to play in the zone. He goes deep in the offensive zone. He wants to play. I think that's a guy you need for this defensive core because he's able to score and he's able to get assists and he's able to and when he picks up his defensive game a little bit, which he has, he's actually a very well-rounded player. He's just so dynamic. I don't think that's a guy you want to lose, but if they did, they'd get a package for him. You'd get some prospects or something, but I definitely don't want him gone. But we'll see what they end up doing. I mean, his cap hit's just too high. It's like $10 million a year. People aren't going to go for that. I don't think.
That's a hard one.
But the Penguins would have to retain a lot of money off of that. But that's been the week and the recap and for what's going on this next week.
And we'll move on to a lot of stuff going on in the NHL. The Ovi goal watch is on hold for a little bit. He's at 868. He's got 15 goals so far this year.
He's a leading goal scorer.
He had a hat trick the other night.
And he had 2 against Utah.
2 against Utah, but in that Utah game, so he's like 27 away from the record of Wayne Gretzky's. But he got hit knee to knee in that game against Utah, and it didn't look as bad as what it is. But they're saying he's going to be week to week, and those knee to knee hits. I never thought that those knee to knee hits would be as severe because you've got knee pads on and
it's
whatnot.
still contact.
But if you get hit in the
right spot, man, the right spot
where the padding isn't. So Ovi's going to be week to week,
and it's crazy because he's looked awesome.
Yeah,
he's looked amazing.
Well, he's made Washington the number 1 team in the Metro.
Yeah,
so Ovi is back. He's like I said, he's at 868. It's stalled for now, but
I think he'll be back. Probably, I bet you after Thanksgiving he'll be back,
like into the first part of December.
Yeah,
one that is sad, and even though it's a rival of the Oilers, JT Miller, the Vancouver Canucks, is on personal leave from the hockey club. We don't know why. He's battling through. I've heard things, coaches, kind of people say he's battling through something. I don't know what it is, and we're not going to speculate.
More personal information.
Yeah, we're not going to speculate here.
Nonetheless, these players are human beings. You want them to be fine and okay, and hopefully he gets everything he needs to taken care of, and he can spend time with his family and get himself back where he needs to be. He's a big part of that team.
Part of Vancouver.
I like him. I really do.
I do.
He's a great player, and he's a good. I like his attitude and his confidence. He's a great player when he's at his best. But the most important thing is taking care of yourself. So hopefully he takes this time to just do what he needs to do. Be with his family, do whatever he needs to do to reset, and help a Vancouver team that's going to be very much in the thick of it to have a good run.
And I think, Vancouver's really been going up the standings. I think they're they're in third right now, just ahead of Calgary and Edmonton.
Did you see that Matthews is in Munich for his treatment? I don't know what the funny thing with all that, this reminds me of when he got in the playoffs. Nobody knew what happened to him. No. Nobody knows what's going on with him, but he's in Munich, Germany, getting treatment for whatever this injury is that he's been out for like 2.5 weeks. Yeah. And nobody knows what's going on. There's no timeline what's going on with him. But very interesting here as you look at that. The Boston Bruins made a coaching change today. The first team to make one this season.
It's kind of deeper than it was last year.
They fire Jim Montgomery and replace him with Joe Sacco, their interim coach. Jim Montgomery, crazy to think about it, less than 2 years ago led the Bruins to the best record in the NHL regular season history. And less than 2 years later, he's fired. Yeah. Now, I told Dad, good on the Bruins because they're doing something about it. Is it an overreaction? Maybe, because they're not in the worst spot, but you've got to make a change, and they're bold enough to try anything. And you know what? Good for the Bruins. I mean, I don't like the Bruins, but I hope it works out for them, because this is more personal for me, but it throws a little bit of a dagger for the Penguins. Look at what they're doing. And if it works for them, see, a new voice does something to the team, and
there's something about the
coaching. Well, it looks at the players, and they're like, well, this guy's, we've, great bond with this guy. He's like a parental figure, and now he's out. We're like, what are we doing? We're costing people their jobs at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're doing. They're costing people their jobs, and reset your focus, and it just gets a new energy in the room, maybe a more positive energy, where they're like, let's go win these games. We're not going out there to not lose. We're going out there to win.
Because who knows? Like sometimes when in cases of players, the coaches lose the players, and if you don't have the players, you can't coach them. So a new, fresh outlook, like what happened to Edmonton last year, what happened to a few teams last year, really turned the season around. I still think as much as Mike Sullivan has done a great job in Pittsburgh, it's been two seasons now where you can point the blame at him for a lot of what's going on.
Yeah, he's made a lot of bad decisions. I mean, even like this, not even small things, but he cost the Penguins last year a couple points. I mentioned in one of the games that he, in overtime puts out like third liners, and the Penguins lose because that's who's on the ice when the other team scores. Little things like that do add up. Again, great head coach. Just time he can go. He'd be great on another team.
Well, see, remember when he came, he took a Penguins team.
Yeah, that was in the bottom,
halfway through the season, right? Like in January, near the bottom, and took him to this and won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, he's a great coach. I mean, it's proven.
You just don't know.
No,
I can't remember if St. Louis did it. St. Louis did it on their Stanley Cup year.
But the one thing I don't agree with people sometimes with what they say is, well, he's just taking over another coach's players. But then what's the difference?
Yeah,
the coaching. He's bringing a voice, and he's bringing an intensity. And it's just time to reset it. That's all it is. So I like him. I really do. Penguins wouldn't have won those cups without him, but it's time to go at some point. But nonetheless, if the Penguins keep winning games, it's not going to happen. So I'd rather them win than keep losing and losing and losing.
Oh, yeah. You always want your team to just figure it out and turn it around.
Yeah. But I mean, I think after this year, if they miss it, you know what? That's enough. That is enough. I'm sorry, but do something. You got the last few years of the big guys. Keep them competitive to try to make it. You got to do something to show them that you want to.
We have a really good lineup of folks watching us tonight. Tim, thank you very much. Tim from back home in Wetaskiwin, Alberta. Amelia Antashko, also from Alberta. I thank Dave Rogan. He's our New York Ranger fan. Miles is out there. Orlando, Mitch, Charity. We got a lot of people, and we love to hear what you guys have to say. We have the podcast here every Tuesday. Do you have anything else that you wanted to go with?
I don't know. I mean, my big one was honestly about the Oilers stuff. I don't know. I don't like to overreact really, but I'm more like, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
I mean, Bush is such a great player, but what do you do? I mean, if he does something like that anymore, enough's enough.
Yeah.
You can't afford.
There comes a time.
And how many, I mean, I know it's early in the season, but how many points has he cost the team? Because some of those errors that he makes are what leads to goals.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we both have the same issue where our big goalie is not effective.
No.
Stu and Jars are both the big guys on the team, and they're not playing like it. At the end of the day, you pay your big goalie to play goal.
That's why he's the starting goaltender.
You pay him to make stops that I think I heard somewhere or saw somewhere the other day, and it was like a perfect analogy. A good goalie will make most of the pucks that should go in, not. And what the situation is with Stu and Jars is the pucks that should be going in are.
Yeah.
They're not making the saves when they need to, because that's what you pay them for at the end of the day. They're your last line of defense, and they come in key for the guys, maybe the forwards or defense that make a mistake, to stop it. And that really rallies around your team. When you make a big save, absolutely it does, because you've given your team a chance. And I think both our teams have some issues with the goaltending.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I totally 100% agree. I feel more confident right now when Pickett's in net rather than Stu. it just like the Oilers did in the Vancouver series last year in the playoffs. They pulled him for a couple of games, got him to sit, and he played phenomenal throughout
We
the
maybe
rest
watched
of
some of those goals like this. The one I can never forget is that Zadorov goal from the goal line.
Yep.
Like that's one that should never
No.
go.
So I don't know. Do you make big changes, or you just shake things up
I
a
think
little
you
bit?
shake things up. Maybe I don't know. I mean, do you maybe demote Bush to a lower D pair? Maybe
and
just to
then,
shake him up. Be like, look,
because
dude.
I think Kulak
Well,
up with Ekholm would work.
I think if you put him Bush, even though it's probably defensively not a great idea, but I think if you put Bush like Emberson, because he's going to have to be the guy on that pair. And I think when you look at the D pair with him and Ekholm, everybody knows Ekholm defensively is the guy.
Yeah.
Offensively, it's Bush. But Bush is going to have to be the guy for both.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to tighten up because he already knows how to play offense. That's not a question. It's tightening up defensively. He can do it. But I think if they demote him to like a third pair and let him lead Emberson and show him how to do it and be that guy, that might reset him a little bit because he's definitely a good player. He just needs to get out of this turnover funk because that's all it's been is him just turning it over.
Just mental mistakes.
And even then, like it washes out the goals.
Yeah.
Because he's making a lot of mistakes that's costing the Oilers points.
Yeah, and that you can't do that. Like last 5 games have been a perfect example of that happening. And what Darnell Nurse coming back hopefully within 10 days. I've been impressed
I think
with
it'll
Darnell.
be longer than that.
I've been impressed with Darnell this year, and maybe that's a guy that you put on with Bouchard or something. But
I think I don't know. I feel like Darnell might be like 2 weeks, but yeah, I think Bouch definitely needs to be just for a couple games because just to be like, look, dude, like we have the faith in you, but you got to step it up. We trust you to lead him.
Yeah,
lead him. You got it.
Yeah,
like we know you can
be the leader
that
Ekholm is.
I think put that confidence in him that we know you can, not you're stinking it up, dude. No, it's like we know you can do it. We've seen you do it. You got it. Just go out there and play like Bush because he's not playing like Bush.
No, he's not.
Even offensively, you notice like he passes up a lot of opportunities just to
like he's firing the puck, but he's getting a lot of his pucks blocked, which he never did last year.
So I think you just give him that confidence boost. You got it. And then once he resets himself, put him in Ekholm and they're a dynamic defensive pair.
Yeah. Well, we're going to wrap things up for the podcast tonight, and the podcast is going to be available here on Facebook in just a little bit as soon as we stop, and then we're going to be putting it on the Refocused Radio Network with Shemaya Reed tomorrow through our YouTube channel, and also it'll be on Spreaker.com. You can get us. It's the Best Boys Center Ice podcast. And we're here every Tuesday night for the next couple of weeks, right around between 6 and 6:15. Carson's got some commitments he's got to do. But we just love to hear from you. You can message us on our Facebook or TikTok. And if you have questions about your team, and if you want to join us live here every Tuesday night, we had a lot of people on tonight. Ask your questions. I've got it sitting right here in front of me. So we just enjoy doing this. 2 weeks from today, I'm going to be in Las Vegas for the Oilers and Vegas Golden Knights game. So we'll have our regular podcast next week. The following week, we are going to do some lives when I'm in Vegas. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to going to Vegas. So that's going to be a couple of weeks. We've got a lot of stuff coming up. Carson's got some games coming up that he's going to be going to. We just love doing this. We love hearing from you.
We do.
We are going to wrap things up. And as I always say, that Carson always makes fun of me. In the meantime, and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.
Ottawa tied it. 1-1. Stutzla. After 1. Tampa 0. Pittsburgh 1. That should be pool party.